Hi, my name is Doug Botkin. I'm a Technology and Market Development Manager for Accugenix.
Hi, I'm Duncan Barlow. I'm Technology and Market Development Manager for Accugenix in Europe.
How can automated systems help improve the accuracy and reliability of environmental monitoring data?
So I think for me, when we think about environment monitoring data, specifically the identifications that come out of it, I always think I had a conversation with a lady. She actually used to work for us, but she worked in a pharma QC lab before she joined us, and they used spreadsheets. And she told me about the time when someone accidentally deleted several of their spreadsheets. Now, it seems like such an easy thing to do, and it was because they did it. They didn't realize they'd done it. They saved the file after they deleted them. There was no backup, so they lost a year's worth of data. Now, she said that they had to go through a process of trying to recapture all that data from logbooks and other places, and she said it took them nearly as long to recapture all that data as it did to generate all the data in the first place. Nearly a year to get all that data back. So, in terms of the reliability, a system where you potentially could delete something just says, oh, it's alarm bells for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, aside from the fact that they didn't have a computer backup, which is a requirement for data integrity, things can't be. That's one of the whole points of data integrity is things can't be easily deletable. They have to be, evergreen. They have to exist. Yeah, I think that was a good point about aside from the lack of the computer backups that are important for data integrity, these things can't be easily deletable or easily modifiable, which is obviously more principles of data integrity. So going with a system that is validated and is compliant is critical because these stories do exist. You have to wonder how many times has this happened to anyone else out there working with Excel, with a corrupted file or with a deleted file, and what are the impacts of that? The impact is, when the FDA walks in or some auditor walks in, looks at your tracking and trending. I mean, as soon as they walk in the door, even before that, they're going to want to see it. You can't be sitting there and saying, oh, it was accidentally deleted, but we're working on it right now. Well, now you've lost data for weeks, months in your rooms, and you can't really demonstrate you have a state of control. So there are very real effects to this, lax data integrity practices.
And there's costs associated with that when you think about it. If you've lost data and someone has to go back to the original logbooks or whatever it was to re-enter that data, how much time? The conversation I had, they said it was nearly a year to rebuild it back to the point where it was. So there's nearly a year's worth of work there for someone. That's a lot of money to spend on something that could be avoided with an automated.
Right. I mean, and then at that point, aside from having your records and maintaining records like you're supposed to, what value is the tracking and trending, realistically, if it takes you a long time to rebuild it, and then 6 months later, you realize you had an adverse trend in the manufacturing room, what are you going to do with that? What do you do with that? And that's an open-ended question. It's do you address it? Do you not address it? You write a risk assessment, and it's hard to justify to the FDA that there was an adverse trend, but you missed it because you accidentally deleted a file. That's not a very strong response. So you're right, there are costs associated with this too. There are a lot of facets to maintaining a compliant system.